So today I'm really excited to share with you my very first Real Media sketch and watercolor brush pack that's exclusively just for Procreate. So some of you have been asking me for a little while for this, so I'm super happy to finally have it ready for you. But this brush pack has a bit of a twist. It's been specifically designed with flowers in mind. So of course you can paint whatever you want with these watercolor brushes, but the pack has an added bonus of guides and tutorials to help you draw flowers better. So I'm sure you know I love drawing flowers and painting, so I wanted to share my experience in studying botanicals and all that I've learned over the years with others like you who want to learn to draw flowers with more confidence. So getting perspective just right or arranging compositions can be kind of challenging sometimes. So I was inspired to create a way to help you jumpstart your drawing by making a flower grid builder that will help you do just that. To finish the piece, of course, we need to paint, and I've created a curated collection of sketch, ink, and watercolor brushes that are my absolute favorite and all the types of brushes that I normally use to create my flowers. To add an even more authentic touch, I've included a special canvas that will even further transform your digital painting into a more real watercolor look. So I won't leave you on your own. I've included step-by-step video tutorials and layer tutorials that will help guide you through the process and hopefully inspire you with some new ideas. I've made a link for you in the description below where you can go and find out some more information on these brushes. And as of today, it's November 18th, and they are on sale for a special discount, so you might want to check that out. In this video, I'll go even further and show you another example of how to use this brush pack. We'll be drawing a succulent using the flower grid builder and the watercolor brushes, and I'll show you from the start to finish how to get the max out of this brush box. Okay, so let's start from the very beginning. You've got your brush pack and you have a zip file. So what do you do next? You click on it. So either you have an email or you're on a web page and you have a link. So you're going to just click on the link, and it's going to open up Safari or Chrome. Chrome is actually highly recommended. I'm using Safari today, but I do recommend Chrome if you're having any issues. So then you're just going to tap download, and that's going to automatically download here. So it'll take a few minutes, but it will eventually appear in your downloads folder. Okay, so once it's done, you can either click on that and click here, and it'll open up your files, or if you're looking for your files, you'll see this little symbol, little folder file. You can just click on that. It should open up to downloads, but if not, just navigate on the side. You may have to open up this by touching that little window box there, and it'll say downloads, and you'll see Flower Tools Zip. So you're just going to tap on that, and it will start downloading and unzipping, and here you have a folder. So you're going to tap on that, and you'll have a few things to look at. You'll have video tutorials here and a little message from me, and you'll have the brushes, the canvas, and the guides. So what I'm going to do first actually is just go into the canvas, and I'm going to click on that. It may or may not have this picture, it just always does for me. I'm just going to tap on that and it'll open it up. So your canvas is going to open up, and you'll see here if you want to go to your wrench, your canvas, crop and resize. So it is 4,000 by 5,000 pixels, 300 dpi, and that's the size of this canvas. So we have a pretty decent size to work with. You of course can resize it if you wish for your project. So just swipe up from the lower edge of your screen here and then go back to your files. I'm going to go back and get the brushes. So I'm just going to tap on the flower grid builder. So tap on that, and it will just automatically import for you. Nothing special, nothing happens, so you're kind of wondering where they are. So you're gonna just tap on the brushes, and you're gonna go up to the top, and you'll see they're there. They always import at the top. I have a few copies here, so don't mind me, but they'll import to the top of the list. Let's go back again and just swipe up to clear that and go back to our files and just tap on the brushes, the other set, and again, you go up to the top and you'll see Flower Tools. So you have the grids here, and then you'll have all the brushes, all the watercolor brushes. Okay, so let's go into our canvas and have a look around here. You can see that you have a bunch of effects and whatnot that you can play around with, just again, whatever suits your project. But I would recommend just leaving that on lock, and you can just start drawing here. So on this layer, I'm just gonna go and I'll just make my grids black for today. So I'm gonna just go into the flower grid builder, and you'll see here you have a lot of options, and this is going to help you with perspective and your shape and your dimensions. So you have a cup, and it's concave or convex in all the different degrees. You have bell, saucer, and trumpet. So these are sort of the four main shapes that a lot of flowers come in, so it's a really good base to start with. And then of course you can use them to build upon each other. So let's start with that, where I'm gonna go and find my cup concave 45. And I'm just going to bring it down to, actually let's have it at 100%. I'm just going to tap, and there it is. Now the key to this, actually I'm going to turn off the canvas for you just so you don't see those effects. You can see how that changes it. The key to this, using the grids, if you're using multiple grids, is to use multiple layers. Otherwise, you're going to have a really hard time moving things around. So add a new layer by hitting the plus sign. Go back to the cup, and I'm still going to use the same one for this. Now you can, again, it depends on what type of flower you're going to be doing, but of course, let's say, I'll just give you an example while we're here. If I were going to do something, a type of flower that had sort of a raised center, what I would do is go to the opposite. So I have 45-degree angle for a concave, and I'm going to use the convex -45. So I'm going to tap on that. And I'm going to see, so it's like the opposite. Then I'm going to use my arrow here to transform, and you can size and scale it how you want. And then you can pop that in there. So you can see how you could just add a new layer and then go and you would draw your, you had it sort of, I'm just going to be very sketchy here. You know, your petals coming up here. This is going to be rather messy, but you get the idea. And you remove those, you have something like that. Right? Okay. But for today, we're going to use the same one every time. So I can either duplicate that layer or just go in and get the same one again. So I'm going to go back to my flower tools, back to concave, and just tap that again. With my arrow, I'm going to size a little bit and stick it into the center. And because a succulent is quite symmetrical, actually I have one right here. So it's kind of like a rose in a way. So we're having this on a bit of an angle. And we're going to see it, obviously everything goes around in a circular pattern. So that's why this is good. So we're just going to kind of get our bearings so we can keep track of where we're going with this. And then I'm going to, well, this time I'll show you can just, for this application, we can just slide the layer to the side and say duplicate. We have another one, and then I can just use my arrow to size that again and bring that in. And maybe one more. So slide to the left and duplicate and bring in that center. So you can see already we have a good grid to work on, and we know where our foreshortening is with our petals that will happen here. And that just gives us a really quick head start to mapping out something that's maybe a little bit more complex. So once you have all your grids placed, what you're going to do is go back into your layers, and you can just merge all of these by pinching them like so. So now you have them all on one layer, and it's way easier to change the opacity. So I'm going to click on the N and just slide that opacity down so it's about here. So I can still see it, but I have a lot of easier time tracing over top. Then I'm going to go and push the plus sign so I have a new layer to work with. Next, let's go have a look at our brushes. So just tap on that, and we'll go to the flower tools. And you can see we have 12 sketch and ink brushes and 15 watercolor brushes and 12 stamp brushes and little blobs and splotches and whatnot. So these have all been made from actual watercolor and actual pencil and ink and all that kind of stuff. They look pretty authentic, and I've had a really great time working with these. So go and grab my favorite sketch, and we'll use this to do our sketch. I'm just going to make sure I'm on 100% opacity. I'm going to have it at about 75 just so you can see. So I'm going to use the grids just as a basic guide to help me kind of figure out where to place my cylindrical pattern of petals. So I'm just going to go in and start in the center, and these are all just overlapping little bits. So you're just going to have like little these sort of shapes. Some of them have kind of points to them. They're just all going to overlap, and see that one, you kind of want to see the inside of it. right, kind of like that. So here you see the outside and the inside. Okay, just sort of working around. So I know I'll see this base here. So I know I'll see that front side of it. It's just keeping it so I like to do, well, it's good. You can always look at a reference photo for this. It's always highly recommended. I'm just gonna make this a little bit bigger. That always will really help. I've just done this a couple of times, so it makes it a little bit easier for me. So I just know that I'm gonna see, just like see these circles here, we know that we're gonna see the this outside here and the inside. So I'm kind of just following the idea of these cup shapes in order to know when for that to happen. So I'm going to make sure I see that. Again, just, you don't have to be too exact at this stage. I want to see that. Again, using my guide to know that that's going to happen there. So if I want to shade it in for you, like this is the gray part. Hopefully that makes sense. Same here. It's all that coming up. There we go. All right. Let's see. This one will come up. Maybe we'll just see just a little bit of that there. And just keep going around until we reach the outside here. And this one, need one here. This will have an edge to it. Okay, and so for these ones, they're gonna come up. We'll see that lip and that edge there. Just make them kind of irregular. Maybe this one, sometimes you can have some strays that kind of unfold a little bit more. Maybe one over here, just sort of make sure everything's filled in so it's fairly circular. Okay, I think that's probably enough petals. This one might have just like a little bit of an edge there. All right, great. Okay, so now we can go and just turn off our guide layer. You can see what we've got. I think that looks all right, but that's enough for us to work off for our watercolor. So next I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm gonna just turn down our sketch layer here, just so it's a little bit lighter, maybe around 10–12%, somewhere in there. And then I'm gonna go to my brushes and just grab the watercolor fill. Here, this is a nice brush for filler details like this. And you can see here, let's just give it a color. And we can bring it up. I'm at about 30. can see it gives it a nice wet look. Now what will really make a big difference here is if we turn our canvas back on. So you can see already that that's just gonna give you that whole watercolor paper look. So again, with and without, already it's a very wet on wet look, but the canvas will just make that much more difference. All right, so let's just clear that up and start. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna paint this just like I would an actual watercolor. So what I really do with paint. So I'm just gonna go and grab this lighter blue just to start with and start coloring that in. Okay, so I'm gonna wanna be at it maybe about 15% or so. Now the trick is that I'm going to have all the petals on one layer that don't touch each other. And then just like I would with watercolor, I wouldn't want my wet paint bleeding into the next one. I actually want the petals to be defined individually. So that's what we're gonna do here. So I'm just gonna go trace over. Normally I would probably do my line work a little bit thinner than this, but I just wanted you to make sure the camera picked it up and you could see it. But the trick here is I'm gonna hold my pen down the entire time to fill this whole one in, because I'll show you here, if you color here and then you lift up your pen and you come back, it's going to give you some lines like over here overlapping, and you may not want that. So I'm also just going to go back into the canvas and actually turn off all these extra paint effects. We might want to add those later, so let's just do that so we can see a little bit clearer what we're doing. Okay, so again, I'm going to find a petal that isn't touching. Do the same thing. I can leave a little bit of white too. Sometimes that gives that a little watercolory look. And then I'm actually going to change the color because I'm going to have it sort of radiating, sort of like an ombre color. So I'm going to grab this light purple. So it's going to be blues, purples, and greens. Okay, so next I'm going to create a new layer, go back to my light blue and do layer 2. So I'm going to do this, and if you can always just turn the opacity down a little bit just so you don't get too confused, and then you can see where you've already been. Okay, on to the next layer. So this is layer 3. Grabbing that blue again. I can just turn down the opacity of my layer 2. And just same thing, filling in. I've just realized that these petals are supposed to be purple and not blue, so I'm gonna go into the selection tool and just select the area that needs to be changed. Then I'm gonna go to my colors, grab that purple, and drag into one of the petals, and that will change both of them. So there we go. So then we can go in and just turn that opacity down and add our 4th layer. Go back and grab the blue, go into the center. Oh, I think I missed one with the 3rd layer. All right, get in there. Just gonna go back to my 3rd layer and color this in. I missed that guy. All right, back to number 4. All right, so we can go and turn all our opacity back up on all our paint layers so we can really see what's going on. And I see that I'm missing that one, so I think I can do it on layer 2. Yes. So again, with the green, just filling this guy in here. Okay, so it looks like a bit of a mess and not very interesting right now, but let's go and change that. So I'm gonna just turn off my sketch layer. So I just have all these little sort of triangular blob type shapes, but let's go jazz that up a bit. So I'm gonna go back to our layer 1. I know it says layer 12, but our original layer here. Click on that, and I'm gonna hit the plus sign on top of it, tap it again, hit clipping mask, so that anything I draw in here will be attached only to these layers below. It'll only color in there, it won't color anywhere else on the canvas. Then go to your colors and let's grab this medium sort of blue color, and then go to your brushes. Let's go find the rough edge, watercolor rough edge. So I'm gonna be on around size 8, I think, and just start painting. It'll only go within this sort of petal. You can make these nice sort of, see how it blooms out itself. So I'm going to do 2 layers so that the darker is going to be a lot more prominent. So one sort of layer. This is just kind of the painting style I'm going to go for. You're going to see kind of that edge, which I think will look good for this. And just sort of rub that edge there. And you can just use the pressure from your pen to really make the difference there. Okay, and then I'm going to go and grab this darker purple color. So where we have the purple, let's bring that in. Again, just careful that you don't go into the other layer there. And even just layering it with some other colors, that darker purple. And let's just bring it even darker still. Really getting in there. So just play with your colors. I just keep adjusting them a little bit depending on how much variety you want. Okay, again, doesn't look like much, but maybe we'll just concentrate on the center for a little bit. So I'm going to go to my next layer, click on that, add the plus sign, tap on it for the clipping mask. So now that we're on the clipping mask, I'm going to go back to this blue color, again remind myself what's on what layer, and start to do the same thing. I can push more and it will give me a little bit more water, basically, a little more juice. And I am tapping just to bring that a little bit darker in the center. And I can go in and get that darker blue too, a little bit more cobalt color. Get in there. Okay, back to this blue. Let's get this edge here, because there will be a bit of a shadow there probably. But I kind of want to keep that edge light there. Perfect, okay. Let's just remember where we're at. And maybe we'll bring some purple in while we're here. Zoom out a bit, maybe we'll go to a bigger brush, maybe around 15. See how that, and play with that a bit. It's kind of a fun brush, it kind of moves on its own a little bit. Nice. All right, on to layer. I'm actually going to rename these layers for you because it's probably confusing because they don't say layer 1, 2, 3. I'm just thinking of them that way because it's how I made them. Okay, so now that we have them named, I can you can follow along probably a little bit easier. Okay, so on to layer 3, I'm gonna plus sign and clipping mask. And let's remind ourselves where these are at. Grab that blue, the bigger brush size will work. Again, just use your pressure sensitivity to your advantage. Have some fun with that. Bring in this darker blue, some little areas. Nice. Back to the other blue. Okay. And to layer 4, hit that plus sign, clipping mask, the medium blue. We can just really sort of make these pop a little bit more. I think we had to go back to layer 2 to really get that inside one there. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, I'm just gonna go back to the layer 2 clipping mask and really darken that there. Get that dark brown, blue, I keep saying brown. Okay, good. Back to the layer 4, back to the layer 4 clipping mask, onto that medium blue. And let's get this one, I probably want this fairly dark. Okay, so that's coming along. It's just a bit of a tedious process, but it is worth it in the end. You just have to keep going around, keep painting. All right, let's go back to, let's see, I kind of want to go here, maybe back to layer 3. Let's get our dark purple and start painting that in. Might actually want to bring in, nope. And you can layer them too. Might actually want to bring in a little bit of the blue too. Kind of makes that look neat. All right, and where are we going next? And then we'll go back to this purple. Just bump it up a little bit. Maybe I'll bring in just like a little bit of this warm color. Maybe play with the opacity if it's a little bright. A little bit of this darker purple. Oops. You can also paint the edges. This is really nice to do, just kind of can have that more saturated or more that wet edge, just where the paint is pooled a little bit. Maybe that's a bit much. Let's go to this purple. I'll work a little, there we go, that's better. Just kind of get that on the edges. It looks nice. Okay, on to layer 4 with the purple. Just go around and grab that. Where they are a little closer together, you can bring in some blue just so that's blending more to create that ombre effect. Again, maybe purple on the edges. Oops, found another one over here. It's perfect. Bringing the blue in, just to blend. back to purple. Let's see. This one back here. Maybe we'll get a little bit of this warm color in there too. Grab that green and just, we're gonna be bringing in the green a lot more actually. And really just putting that in on the edges too, so you can see that'll look good in a little bit. Back to the purple. This is the fun part, just play. Just play with it, see what colors. It's the joy of digital painting, is that you can erase, which is pretty unbelievable coming from traditional painting. Oh my goodness. You don't have to throw it in the garbage if you totally screw something up. It is a miracle. I'm gonna bring in this burgundy. Got a little pop there. And back to the purple. Darker. So I'm just going to keep going and doing all these purple bits and maybe put a little music on and meet you back when we do something a little bit new. So I'm just going to carry on with this purple and keep going around. So we'll see you in a bit. Okay, and then we're gonna just go and do the green parts. So I'm gonna grab this darker green, bring down my brush a little bit, and just get the bottom edges of this. So I want the lighter to be closer to the top. Just kind of really blob it on. Okay, and I think I have some green clipping mask 4, so I'm just gonna put it in there. And where does that one? Okay, and you can also add a little bit of blue too if you want. Maybe this blue will be better. I think that kind of gives it a nice look too. Kind of wherever. Okay, so things are looking good so far. Just gonna carry on and keep painting. I want to add some, like I said before, some green edges to some of these. So with this medium green, just gonna come in and just kind of just dust the edges a bit. Maybe a little bit darker on some. And remind myself where these are. You may want to play with the opacity a little bit too. And let's see. It's nice. Maybe a little here. Just gotta play with it a little bit. it's art. It's meant to be a little bit interpretive and not so mathematical, so experiment, have fun. You just go back and forth and try things and see what happens. You see why these clipping masks are so important? Makes it so much easier to get this type of look anyways. Okay, so now that we have all our edges sort of done, we can go and why don't we make some blobs and splashers, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go into my brushes and let's go and just play with some of these paints. I'm going to grab paint blob 2. I'm going to create a new layer here. Hit the plus sign, make that a clipping mask as well. And let's just see. I'm going to make it dark purple and see what that looks like. Okay, so you can see how it's going to be confined to this. That's great. I'm going to size it up a little bit. Maybe I'll do it like that. I'm going to set it to multiply. You can try other variations too to see what works best with what you're working on. I mean, the color burn looks kind of cool too. Actually, that might kind of work for us. So let's try that, the color burn. So it just gives another kind of watercolor effect to it. Okay, and then you can just go and add a new layer, make it a clipping mask. Let's go grab another one and we'll do splotch 4. And I'm just gonna have it on that lighter purple and splotch. And then we can just, with our arrow tool, just sort of size it and shape it. There we go. Let's go down to, let's try color burn again, kind of like that, and play with that opacity. And just move that and see where we end up. Maybe just I put it down a little bit too much. It's kind of neat. Okay, so you can go through and add a bunch more stuff like that. You can also go back onto your original clipping masks and go to the white or any other color, whatever you want. I'm going to do white for today. Grab a paint splatter. So we can add just a few splatters here. Just gives it another look if you like that kind of look. Just go into all your layers. You can use the different splotches and splatters if you'd like. You can change the size. Just trying to figure out where my things are. All right. And then let's go find another splotch here. I'm going to make a new clipping mask and maybe get this purple here. I know I'm using the purple quite a bit. Grab this, tap, and let's just size that. Maybe that's kind of like that. Let's try multiply and just bring that opacity down a little bit. Again, giving it that nice little painted effect. And honestly, something like this, I would keep going and working at for quite a few hours. It's a little bit more of an intense one for sure, just to really get that look. Maybe I would go in and use a bunch of other brushes, like this wet edge brush. Add some more. See, I have it at about 10%. Add a few more extras here and there. Really getting this base of things, just really getting lots of paint on here. And I would go and make some extra details too. So I would actually probably continue on and making this more painted. Like this is probably my second layer, probably do another third layer even, just getting that really painted look. But you can, it's just exactly the same as I did here. You would just keep layering. And I would go too, just in case you don't want to mess up what you've done already, you can always create a new layer and carry on top. So don't be afraid to do that too. The other thing I would do is go to the very top, add the plus sign, grab this sort of burgundy type color. I'm going to come in and grab one of these liquid liners, and I'm just going to add a little bit of detail. So just like along the edge here, let's see, I have it at about 10%. Just along the edge here, I'm going to give it a little bit of burgundy tip here. Kind of like that. And you can go with your smudge brush, and I would just go and grab, let's see, the soft bloom is nice for that. Just bring it down pretty small to about maybe 2 or 3%, maybe 2%. And you can smudge that into just like a little bit on the one side if you want it a little softer. Kind of like that. Just giving these little hints here. Let's see, maybe this edge kind of came like that. Just trying to follow what the paint kind of naturally did. Sometimes just a few little bits like this really make a difference. So I love detail work at the end, it's always fun. Sometimes you'll come in and just grab a, let's see, what do we do? This little tapered round, just get it small here. Just little pops. I'm just gonna blend them up just so they're just little hints of colors here and there. Maybe there too. And we can grab that green. I'm just gonna make a darker one too. And just give a little emphasis to some of these edges. I can stay on that tapered round, that's fine too. Good, and you can come in with the dark brown, or I would say dark brown. Then you can come with the dark blue again and just really get into some of these edges here just to really make the folds stand out. And again, lifting up and doing that action will really get that really dark, and then you can always blend out a little bit too if you need to. All right, so once you're done and you're happy with this all, you can go and do another extra step if you'd like. You can go and select all your millions of layers that we made. You can group them and you can flatten it and you can duplicate it. Now I probably would save a copy of this before just so you have a working file and this file, and I would just say duplicate, and that's really going to bump up the colors too. You can also have some fun and go in and change this to maybe a color burn and bring that opacity down a bit too. See, that just makes those colors pop even more. Also, we can go and turn on those extra effects in the canvas, and that's obviously a little bit too dark, but you can go and unlock this, of course, first, and then you can take these and you actually can move them around and size them and change them. So that may be something that's interesting to do too. And you can change the opacity of them and all that kind of good stuff, and take some on and some off. So that might be a fun way to even bring it alive a little bit more. So that's it for today. So thank you so much for watching, and if you are interested in learning more about these brushes and these flower builder tools, you can find it in a link in the description below, and you'll find all the information there. So if you did like this video, I'd love a thumbs up, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of new tutorials just like this one every week. So thank you again so much for watching. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.